If you're looking for ways to improve your beats and production, which we should all be doing by the way, then I've got some tips for you in this video, so make sure you stay to the end so you don't miss anything. Often it's small changes we can make which drastically improve the overall sound and quality of our beats, and usability by artists, which ultimately then results in more placements. The first way I have for you to improve your beats is the use of sound effects. I can't tell you how much sound effects can change the way a beat feels and sounds. To me, they make the whole beat sound a lot more professional and clean, because if used correctly, they can both separate and join sections and provide transitions between chorus and verse and pre-chorus, etc. in a nice smooth way. Here's an example where I've used a sound effect and a transition to bring it all together. Let's compare before and after. So let's listen to how it sounds before using it. So as you can kind of hear, the change between chorus and verse is quite abrupt, and some people might like the sound of that. For me, I personally wanted it to be a kind of falling into the next part of the song rather than it being like a quick, everything's cut out, because as you can see, a lot of things do cut out between the chorus and the verse. So to make that transition better, I added this transition effect, which I use in pretty much all my beats, which I just think sounds so good. I'll play you that now. So it's pretty subtle, but I think it just kind of gives the effect of it falling into the next part and just molds the two sections together, as opposed to it just abruptly changing. It's a bit more intentional with each section. And I also added this rain sound effect in the verse, because I felt like because there's a lot less stuff in the verse, it was a bit more empty, so I wanted to add something which gave it a bit more, And this sound effect I think really helped. So this is without. And this is with. Again, subtle, but I think it just adds that little extra icing on the cake. Sound effects can also add a lot more energy to your beats. You can use risers to build, and then I often use a crash when the drop hits, which can make a massive difference, by the way. Sometimes I'll be making a beat and thinking, I don't know why this drop isn't quite hitting the way I want it to. Then I'll add a crash and boom, the problem's fixed there. A lot of the time that does the trick. I use a lot of the same sound effects in nearly all my beats. Not only does it make it sound more cohesive as a track and kind of molds everything together, it can also help you build a recognizable sound through the way you use these sound effects. It can make your beats stand out a lot more by using them as little ear candies. It is important to keep the sound effects as ear candy though, as opposed to bringing them way up in the mix and making them the main thing. Make sure you use them only to support the overall beat. The second easy way you can improve your beats is through reference mixing. For those that don't know, this simply means comparing your mix to a track which is professionally mixed. Basically, find a song which has been released which you really like and is kind of similar in style to your beats. And throughout the mixing process, you want to compare how that reference song sounds to your own beat. That way you can hear what needs to change in your mix to get it to sound the way that you want and make it sound attractive to the artist. I cannot overstate the impact of the mix and how a bad mix can affect the whole beat. A good beat with a bad mix is a bad beat. Fact. It doesn't matter how good the production is. So make sure you use other tracks as references to see where you can improve your mix. You'd be surprised how much of it is literally just balancing levels. I can't tell you how many beats I've listened to where it's simply just a case of there needs to be a better balance of sounds, as opposed to a particular couple of sounds being pushed really loud and then others really quiet. Logic actually has a plugin called Match EQ, which can really help with using reference tracks. You just import the reference track you want to use into the EQ, and then it will analyze your own beat and show you the differences between both frequency spectrums, and then you can make adjustments from there. I mean, this is just one way that can help identify what you need to do to make a better mix. And this Match EQ can show you if your mix is a bit muddier, let's say, and it needs a bit more brightness or whatever the kind of adjustment that needs to be made is. This can really help with that. Some of you might hear this next one a lot, but I'm gonna flip and shout it till the cows come home. It's make your beats simple. It doesn't make you a better producer if your melodies are more complicated or complex, or the sounds you use are more unordinary. What makes you a good producer is your ability to facilitate and support the ability of the artist and provide a musical environment which suits them the best. Hence why so many of the top songs and beats are really simple, because it makes it easy for the artist to do their thing. What's tricky with this though is to be able to keep the beat simple enough but also at the same time still keep it interesting enough. It's easy to take instruments out, but then you're kind of just left with this empty sounding, lifeless beat. Instead, you've got to be thinking about simplicity from the start of making that beat. A lot of it comes down to sound selection. You want to select sounds which are going to sound full enough while still being used in a simple way. A good way to try and force yourself into simplicity is by having a deadline for the beat. Give yourself a certain amount of time for the beat and be done with it once that time is up. Whether that's half an hour, 2 hours, whatever it is, whatever works for you, just make sure you stop when that deadline hits. That way you can work to it and make sure you're not overproducing. Another technique to improve your beats is by using audio effects and plugins. Be creative in how you use effects on instruments. It's crazy how you can turn one sound into another by using effects. As producers, we've got to detach ourselves sometimes from being the producer. Put yourself in the shoes of the artist or the general listener and think, is this sound inviting for an artist that's listening to this beat? Maybe you're using a sound but it's slightly too dry or sharp. Experiment by chucking some different effects on it, reverse it, try making it easier on the ear, more satisfying to hear. Oh, what a bar! Or if you deliberately want it to be a bit jarring or in your face, then find a way to do that. What I'm trying to say is that whatever you want the sounds of your beats to do, use effects to try and achieve it, as opposed to trying to create it by using more sounds, putting more ideas in, or whatever. I often use a free chorus plugin because I just think it sounds really nice and again, just more attractive to listen to. There you go. There's a few different ways to improve your beats to get them ready for more placements. Of course, improving the way you produce and your beats requires a lot of effort and dedication, and you have to really intentionally change the way you do things in order to improve. So try and implement a couple of things that I've said in this video and let me know how it goes. If you want another video like this, a part 2, then please let me know. Join the producer Discord, first link in the description. We're building a really cool community there and it'd be great to have you in there. And I'll see you in the next video.